Hello everybody, this is Conquering History Games, and welcome back to another guide here in Equestria at War, a mod for Hearts of Iron 4, a total conversion mod. And today I'm going to be covering a guide that was chosen by a member of my Discord, Flying Pad. I had a little fun competition on my Discord and he won, and his reward was that he got to pick any guide for Kaiserreich or for Equestria at War for me to do. And he has chosen a very interesting country, and I'm glad he did, because I probably would not have gotten to this country for a little while if he hadn't told me about it. The county of Greifwald. I hope I'm pronouncing that. It's on the Griffonian continent in the eastern half of the game. And let's go over its brief history. The county of Greifwald has for long been a nation that has mastered the art of balancing between many powers on the Griffin continent, as it is located directly in the middle between the kingdom of Aquileia and the Griffonian Empire. The current establishment of Greifwald has ruled for long already, but the county is troubled by many problems. Its citizens are poor, its army and industry greatly obsolete, and while the current regime tries its best to keep everything stable, there exists a small but hard-working anarchistic party there that could pose a great threat to the government. But more worryingly, there are whispers in the dark of Prelate Ebenwing's great ambitions and plans. So let's just jump into it. There's a lot to go over here, particularly in regards to the political branches of the focus tree. That's these three main ones here. I'm going to talk about them basically last, after I start going over the land, the air, the navy, the industry, the national spirits, things like that. So let's first take a look at your situation. You're playing the county of Greifwald here, which I'll probably just call GW because I'm afraid that I'm mispronouncing it. And as the brief history said, your main issue is that you are stuck between this kingdom down here, which usually becomes a republic, and the Griffonian Empire. And both of these nations have reasons to expand into these areas. So you can kind of think of this as a situation where you're kind of like Poland and vanilla Hearts of Iron 4, where you're stuck between two larger powers and you need to figure out what you're going to do. Do you want to align yourself with one of them, or do you want to go your own way? Research slots, you get 3 at the start, which is kind of nice. However, you have a research time added of 110% for various reasons. Only 4 civilian factories, 2 of which are being used up by consumer goods. You do not really have a ton of building slots here. You only have 4 provinces, and also you're getting additional construction speed over here. Only 2 military factories, no naval dockyards, because of course you do not have any coastal areas, and you do not have very much technology. Speaking of technology, well, actually, let's get to the poverty thing first. So your national spirit here, poverty. This country has suffered a near-total economic collapse, leading to tremendous levels of poverty all across the board. This is, of course, spawning from when the Griffonian Empire essentially just collapsed, and there was just anarchy reigning in all of Western Griffonia for about 30 years. So this county here is suffering from poverty as a result of it, which is lowering your monthly population growth. It's lowering your production efficiency cap, construction speed. You've got 15% more consumer good factories, plus 40% research time, and minus 0.9% recruitable population. So right now, as you can see, you've only got 12 Griffins that are not in your army. Down here in the development, of course, this is a new section of the political tree. I mean, the political tab that is unique to Equestria at War. You only have the small science base right now, as opposed to like a modern science base, which something like Equestria would have over here. Yeah, developed science base, my bad. So this is giving you more political power, but it's also increasing your research time. So it's not as bad as it could possibly be, but plus 55% research time is pretty awful. You also are a pre-industrial society, which is further lowering your production efficiency caps, factory outputs, dockyard, research time, max factories. Your population is your population growth is down because of this as well. Construction speed, all sorts of really negative things. So these are this poverty level and your development is something that's usually going to be a goal that you need to get rid of if you want to be competitive in the game. All right, as far as your army goes, you've only got 3 Griffin infantry divisions. The good news is that they are regulars, and in fact, they're already progressing a little bit towards being seasoned. You've only got 3 generals, no field marshals available to you. They're okay. They all have this ranger bonus, which is going to give them combat bonus in forest, which is good because you have quite a lot of forest in your country, so they're good for defense in that regard. And let's also not forget that should you later choose to build Griffin Knights, which you do not have access to, you only have your single 10 with infantry division with some recon. But if you do get Griffin Knights later, Griffin Knights get bonuses in mountains and hills. Let's not forget that. So with all your generals being rangers as well, so that means they'll be getting bonuses in forests, hills, and mountains, which is pretty nice. All right, let's start talking about the actual focus tree, which is going to take us a while. It's pretty big, as you can see. And again, these center sections are what I'm going to talk about last. Let's first take a look at your air tree. Your air tree is pretty straightforward. It just gives you the usual bonuses to your fighters, your close air support and things like that. The only kind of interesting thing here is at the end when you get to jet experiments, you get a 75% research bonus for rocket tree technology. But besides that, it's pretty standard stuff, and it doesn't really need to be anything fancy if you ask me. Alright, next, let's look at reforming the army. First, reforming the army is going to give you 25 army experience, so that'll help you modify your divisions early on. Then you're going to start getting technological bonuses for your support equipment, support artillery, and infantry weapons. So something interesting here, if we go over here to the research tab, you do not have very much research already taken care of. This is not quite as bad as the situation that the Arcturian Order finds itself in at the start of the game, but it's still not that great. Your most advanced infantry technology is in fact only a musket. And because you have not researched basic infantry equipment yet, there are huge amounts of your focus of your research trees that are blocked off to you. So for example, you're not allowed to research motorized because you do not even have basic infantry equipment. You do have support equipment already, so that's kind of nice, but of course you can't research tanks because you don't have the basic infantry equipment. You can't research artillery because you don't have basic infantry equipment. Same thing for all of these land doctrines, your ships, your naval doctrine, airplanes. You can't even take electronic engineering because you don't have basic infantry equipment. You do have your industry tree open to you, and you do have your unique Griffin technologies available to you, and they've already researched We Can Fly, which is giving you more bonuses for your hills and mountains as well. And you do already have also the Knights Division technically researched, so you could, in theory, begin to make divisions with them. So it's pretty bad, though. It's pretty bad early on. So we're going to actually go into some focus autocompletes here. And remember, this is a guide, not a playthrough. I never recommend anybody use the console commands during a real game. I just do this during guides to demonstrate how things work. So because you have only the most basic, you don't even have basic infantry equipment, you could begin to research it, but you could also spend your research points somewhere else. So let's just say, for example, you wanted to do something like that and not research your basic infantry equipment. Well, it's only going to take you 105 days to get down here to modern rifles, for example, and when you do that, you'll automatically get basic infantry equipment. So if you wanted to, it could be faster to just take these 2 focuses out of the gate and get that right away, and that will not negate your 25% research bonus. You still will get that, so then you can jump into Weapons 1 or getting some support weapons and things like that. And you see, once you have that basic infantry equipment, so much of your tree gets opened up for you. Alright, moving on. Again, the land tree besides that is pretty basic. Artillery bonuses, and there are a couple interesting national spirits. So for example, rifle modernization will allow you to convert your old infantry equipment faster and lower your production cost of all infantry equipment. So that's pretty nice. Now this is one of 2 scientist-related focuses. Exempt scientists for military service. Our military's continued success depends on newer and better technology. We must never again lag behind the curve. To that end, we must allow our scientists to go about their business without fear of draft letters coming in the mail. So, because you need to have technology, because you sure don't have population in much of an industry, the idea is going to be that you'll have better guns than your enemies. So that's what's going to help keep you alive. So you'll first immediately lose 2,000 pony power, which you don't even have right now. but you'll get minus 5% research time, and then this permanent minus 10% recruitable population factor. So you're trading research time for population. There is another similar one to this. It's, where is it? Oh yeah, a haven for the sound mind, where you create an area for the scientists to live in, which will actually lower your research time by 10% and increases your daily political power cost by 0.3%. Of course, this is just an optional one. As you can see, it's kind of here off to the side. But those are pretty interesting and unique, I think. So you got other just stuff, you know, your fourth research slot is waiting for you down here, but nothing too crazy here besides that. Now let's go over to the Navy branch. Navy branch, also very simple. You actually marry the sea, which is, I think, a reference to Venice, how they would marry the sea every year. You see, we must take it out to dinner, treat it right, and buy it a nice engagement ring. You actually cannot take this because you don't own any coastal states. So you're going to obviously need to get one. The easiest one would probably, if you attack feathers in here, which, depending on your political party, you could begin to justify on them relatively early. Of course, right now, you're non-aligned, so you need 50% world tension to do that. And sometimes the world tension can get up pretty high, but I'm just saying that this is going to be an easier apple to pick with just one division than the Skyfall Trade Federation, which can sometimes get really ridiculously strong. Alright, so that's just the Navy tree. Bonuses, it's just, do you want to do trade interdiction or fleet and being? This is not a carrier heavy country, and that's all there is to it, really. Now over here you can begin your industrial development plans. So as I showed you before, right now you are in a pre-industrial society, so you're getting all these negative Malthuses. By beginning the industrial development plans, you can then move up to the outdated industrial center as opposed to a pre-industrial center, which, let's see, that's right here, and basically cuts in half all the penalties you're taking, as well as taking away the max, your monthly population loss and your max factories and estate loss. So it's a pretty big jump for just one focus. Then you're getting other things, just more infrastructure, resources, population boosts, things like that. As you go down here, I'm sorry, not population boosts, production boosts. But you can't take the final one where you finally modernize the industrial center, which will turn you into a modern society right here, which doesn't give you any sort of penalties, and you'll also get a developed science base. But as you can see, part of the tree has not opened up. That is because you have to own these two provinces of Lycée and Eagleton, which brings me to your most immediate and relevant neighbor, the county of Adelard. Adelard, in every single political branch for the county of GW's focus tree, you are going to go to war with them at some point. It should be a pretty easy war. They start with less divisions than you. You usually can accelerate faster than them and deal with them and get these two areas and core them. I'll talk more about that later, but basically, until you have won that war, you're not going to be able to modernize your industrial sector because essentially your country is split in half. And so that's all there really is to that. So we've got three pretty large focus tree branches here. I'm going to be going over these from left to right. First, let's talk about anarchy in GW. Now, the Griffins of GW have long lacked any strong opinions on matters one way or the other, but how can they continue like that when there's still a state that might take a position on events? The only solution is revolution. The GW Anarchy Party and its chief representative shall lead the way or else. Now, this is your communist tree under Nestor Bernier. Now, you might be thinking, Bernier, like Bernie Sanders? Actually, as you'll see, it's kind of a pun. At least that's what I think it's meant to be. Of course, this shuts off the other branches. So essentially, what Bernier begins to do is you start to begin recruiting people and creating anarchy. So first, you have to make your rebel camps. You entrench the movement. So this is boosting your population. So as you can see, just by taking these couple of focuses, the Communist Party is already at a 40% popularity, and that's not even counting the daily changes that are going to be happening. Let's also note that there is no communist revolutionary political advisor, so just a heads up for that. Alright, Then you begin to do your anarchist things. So you actually start raiding parts of the country. So you start doing damage to your own country when you're taking these trees. So as you can see, you're losing pony power, you're losing political power, you're hurting one of your civilian factories. So you have to start repairing that. Then you'll have the war in the countryside, which is going to lower your pony power in all of your little provinces here. And lowering the popularity of the non-aligned and the harmonious. So just from taking those, you've already reached 56% popularity for the communists. Finally, you then proclaim the free territory. The government is now dead. Now that anarchy has prevailed, Nestor Bernier is making preparations to declare GW a free territory, or else let the whole world know that those who seek to rule will find only death here. So this changes you over. You get a brand new flag, and you are now the Greifwaldian Free Territory. Getting more daily communist support all the time. And so this is him. As you can see, the fire is behind him, so that's why I think Bernier is meant to kind of be a pun. Anyway, so now that you have established yourself as communist, you could, of course, justify war goals on people. We can't do this right now because we have no political power, but just as an example. So if you wanted to go get your navy, this might be the right time to do it. But there's other things that you have to do as well. You got to start rebuilding, adding more building slots, increasing your recruitable population with a revolutionary insurrectionary army, more factories. Oh yeah, the autonomous school system is kind of interesting because you see right here, it says grant scientific development to substantial science base, which grants plus 30% research time, plus 10% daily political power gain. Let's keep in mind that that's saying that's the effects you're going to get, whereas before you had the small science base, now you're going to have a substantial science base. So you have to read that correctly. It's actually going to reduce your research time by 25%. Is what it really means. So don't get confused by this. It's not, and also you're getting the autonomous school systems, which are giving another minus 5%. All right, infrastructure is pretty basic, and then you can finally liberate Adelard. Now, this is, of course, I would say maybe the end of the first act, or maybe you could say the midpoint of any GW campaign. Let's just go ahead and declare that war. And we'll just annex them so we can move on. Okay, great. So once you annex them, you then can take the rest of these. So you can free the people of Pomovara, Avian, and Floena. Those are 3 areas here in kind of west-central Greifwaldia. These 3 to be exact. And it all works exactly the same way. Oh, pardon me, that's their focus tree. All 3 of these work the exact same way. Once you take one of them, you get your war goal, as you can see, and it will be instant. It won't be a war declaration. You just get the goal, but you can declare war on them at any time. And we'll just declare war on all 3 of them. All right. So the reason why you're going to want to grab these is because after you, well, of course it blocks your tree unless you grab them. Of course you could go work on, like for example, nationalizing the Adelard oil fields, because as you can see now that I've taken that country, this is all open for me. So there's stuff to keep you busy while you're at war, but it probably won't be very long wars. And you can start to attack, subdue them, and integrate them. So we're going to once again just use the console commands here. Let's see, it was POM, yeah. Annex, yeah, House Avian, and annex the city. All right, so you've got all these 3. You then can start to core them. So keep an eye on that population. Oh, it's still mobilizing, huh? All right, so it's mobilizing, but it's gone up. Oh, there we go. Yeah. So you're getting a few thousand more off of each of these areas. You know, they're not enormous areas of the country, but you're going to need every man you can get if you're going down these trees, because you're going to find yourself trapped between the Greifwaldian Empire and this kingdom. Although if this kingdom goes communist, you might ally with them, but that's another story. So you finally can then get wealth for the people, which when you do this, you finally start to get rid of your poverty national spirit, which by this point in the game you will have still had. So you can take the wealth for the people. It gives it, and it's gonna. Oh yeah, sorry. It's gonna get rid of it. Get another research slot right here, so that brings you up to 4. Wait, didn't we get one over here? Oh, I didn't actually take it. Yeah, so that'll be your 5th research slot or your 4th research slot, depending on what order you've done things in. I'm so sorry. I should have taken more notes. Anyway, arming the workers, and then finally, Mother Anarchy loves her sons. Non-core pony power plus 25%. Justify war goal time minus 50%. AI focus on offense plus 75%. So that's more for the AI. But basically, once you've done all that, once you've cored your areas, now really your only goal is to, I guess, just free as much of the, depending on how you look at it, free as much of the continent as you want. And 25 and plus 25% non-core manpower is pretty darn good. That's unprecedented. I don't think I've ever heard of any focus tree in any mod for Hearts of Iron 4 giving that much of a bonus. So that's pretty cool. But as we will see, there is a lot more to this county than just becoming anarchistic pyromaniac griffins and then burning the country and drafting those who didn't die in the flames. And for that, we need to go back to the beginning. Okay, so this time we're going to explore the Between Giants branch. So GW sits between two of the largest powers on the continent, the Kingdom of Aquileia and the Old Griffonian Empire. It is of the utmost importance that we maintain good relations with both. We cannot let GW fall into the hands of extremists, as it is likely that such a change would put us on the path to war with one or more powers on the Griffonian continent. So this will give you political realism. So you're just ready to accept plenty of diplomacy, both democratic, fascist, and communist, and it's a lot cheaper for you to improve your relations and things like that. So it's you're just trying to find some friends out there. You then have 3 possible branches that you can go down here. You can work with the Aquileians or Leians. I'm thinking it's Leia because L-E-I-A, like Princess Leia, Aquileia. You can work with the Empire, or you can pursue a policy of neutrality, which will give you additional political power per day, but it's going to add a 50% to your war goal time, although it's also going to increase the popularity of your party, which right now is at only 50%. For something that I'm going to talk about at the end of this tree, it does not matter which of these branches that you go down. As far as loosening the immigration laws, which is sort of the main event of this tree. So just to demonstrate how it works, let's say you're going to, I don't know, work with the Imperials or something like this. So you then can start to ask for things from them. So they'll give you equipment. So for example, over here, if you had gone with the Imperials, they're going to give you more artillery and a little bit less equipment. If you had gone with the Aquileians, they're going to give you more infantry equipment and less artillery. And so there's just slight differences between the two when you look at things like that. So the Aquileian military mission gives you more organization and planning speed for your divisions. They're going to give you more straight up attack and defense. So I'm not going to go over every single branch, every single focus here. But it just is something that you're going to want to read into on your own when you're deciding which direction you're going to want to go to. So, for example, you're probably going to want to work with the Aquileians if you were doing Grand Battle Plan Doctrine, for example. All right, so let's just start knocking these out. Let's just go down here. Now, over here, you can either request a loan or get the economic aid. That is when you're going to be able to start getting rid of the poverty, which when you compare to the communist tree, it doesn't happen until right down here. So these are the things you have to think about when it comes to balancing. All right, so we got some friends in the palace here. So this is one that I want to show you what happens. And we're just gonna kick it up to 5 speed. So the friends in the palace and the friendship with the Eagles of the West is probably the most important of your branches to go down, because it's what's going to probably keep you alive if you've gone down a neutral path. I'm just waiting for this event to actually pop up. Is it going to come? All right. Well, sometimes it takes a little bit, or maybe they just rejected us. But essentially, the Friends in the Palace and a friendship with the Eagles of the West are where you propose an agreement to either the Empire or the Kingdom of Aquileia, and you ask them to guarantee your independence. Essentially, there we go. The Empire accepts. Emperor Grover V has decided to accept our offer, and we are now openly trading with the Empire. Wait, no, that's a different one. No, that was trying to remember which one that was. I think that was the Industrialists. Well, I'm not sure why it's not popping up. That's very strange. We'll move on. Anyway, now you can't take the enemy to the south just yet. Or the enemy in the north, which I think is a little bit strange, but I suppose it is because you are going to be putting forts in areas that you don't own here, be it Eagleton or Lysae. You're worried about your enemy to the other side. So if you side with the Griffonians, you're worried about them attacking you and vice versa. So you can then build a series of forts here. You're going to reclaim Adelart, which is going to take us a few days here. All right, so let's wait for that. And then you're going to build a line of level 2 forts there to help hold them off. Because even if they don't absorb everyone around them, they do tend to form a faction here, as you can see, so you have to be ready for all of them. There we go. Imperials agree. Griffonian Empire guarantees county of Greifwald. There it is. So now our independence is guaranteed. So that is definitely the way you want to go if you want to keep it defensive. All right, let's finish this up. I'm so sorry, I forgot to turn back on the focus autocomplete. And again, Adelart shouldn't be too difficult to deal with, even if you haven't been focusing on offense. Alright, so that's done. Let's annex them once more. Alright, done. Focus autocomplete re-enabled. You can then reintegrate them. Of course, you get your cores, and you're going to keep moving up as far as your science base goes. Research slots, the havens, etc., etc. But now let's get to the fun stuff here. You have this focus called Loosen Immigration Laws. Many people, Griffins and others, seek to immigrate their native land in search of a better place to live. We have the industry and agriculture to support a very large population, and so we could take advantage of thousands of immigrants. But first, loosening our immigration laws is in order. If you take this, nothing actually happens. You'll see here it says unlock decision, a change of pace. You go over here to the decisions. There is no decision there that says a change of pace. So this is not a bug. It actually just requires something very specific to happen. So of course I've been using console commands. You are not going to have done this by 10:07 in February. It's of course impossible. So we're going to go to another save file here. Right here. And it actually concerns, wait, my bad. It actually concerns something that happens on the Equestrian continent. All right. Now, if we were to, wait a minute. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. It's because I have so many save files. Oh, I probably should cut this out, but yet here we are. Okay, there we go. This is what I was looking for. Get to look at the nice loading screens. Alright, so this has to do with the things that are going on the Equestrian continent. So notice here, this is a file where Equestria has defeated the changelings, they've been absorbed, they're gone. When that happens, as you can see now, a change of pace decision has now been opened. So if we look at the focus tree, I've gone down it, and we've loosened the immigration laws. You see, new friends, with the defeat of the Changeling Empire, many of its greatest thinkers, military leaders, and prominent industrialists have found themselves in exile, but where others see criminals and vagabonds, we see an opportunity, and all we need to seize it is turn a blind eye. So you'll just take it, it won't cost you any political power, and when you do, it'll open up a new section of the focus tree. So I've already taken the first one here, and it's going to give you 5,000 pony power in 2 of your provinces, and you get 2 new generals, who, for anybody who's played the Changelings before, may recognize. You get Vecht here, and you're going to get Trommel. Because they have immigrated, they've fled, I guess you can say, the Changeling Empire and gone over here to the county of GW. The rest of the focus tree is basically similar things like that. They're all going to be giving you additional pony power because more and more changelings are moving to your country, and you're getting different bonuses. So you get your air bonuses. Whoops. You get your... Oh, I didn't have focus autocomplete on. Whoops, sorry. And I kind of need it on for this last part. Come on. All right. So let's set that first. Okay, so you'll get bonuses to various things. Of course, your air. This is actually going to give you armor technology and tanks. More pony power, more pony power, more pony power, more pony power, etc., etc. So by the time you're actually getting to old friends, you've got even more changelings in your ranks, as you can see here, and more rangers, fortress busters. Everybody's moving to your country. Then we get to a change of pace. Keep in mind, who's your leader? Count Claudet. He will give a speech here, my fellow Griffins. I am speaking to you today to ensure you that all rumors of sudden changes in my demeanor are completely unfounded. All will be well. You take that, and the changelings have taken over. You're going to get the Great War Hero effect, which will increase your attack and defense on your core territory, which is, of course, good because of the defensive stuff that we already talked about earlier if you're going down this neutrality tree. But because the changelings can assume the appearance of other people, essentially the changelings have now taken control of your country. So that's fun. It's, and I think, a really great event tree for this county. And I thought initially when I learned about this, I thought, oh, well, your country name should change, shouldn't it? And then I thought, wait a minute, no, because the changelings are pretending to all still be griffins. You only know because you're looking at the portrait here. So I think that's pretty cool. But there is still more to explore in this focus tree. It's really an amazing one, I must say. Alright, so we're going to go back to the beginning again, and it's time to explore the fascist branch of the tree. Alright, focus autocomplete enabled. This is requesting the help of the prelate in times of trouble like this. Griffins turn to their faith for strength. Our government has no option on this one way or the other, but the local prelate Ludwig Ebenwing certainly does. He seems to be proposing many interesting economic and political ideas. Perhaps we should take advantage of this. And so this, by taking it, by listening to the prelate, who's basically, think of him as like a bishop or something, you immediately are going to begin working on reducing the effects of the poverty national spirit. And so this is where you start going into this sort of a religious fascist thing. So for example, you're going to boost your popularity. You're going to already move to a substantial science base this early. You can actually invite the Knights of Arcturus. So, of course, that is a reference to the Arcturian Order. You ask for some of them to come down and train your population. And when you do that, you're going to get 2 new Knights of the Order of the Eventide divisions. Organizing some militias is going to give you more recruitable population and more fascism. So at this point, you are 47% fascist, and then the takeover happens, and the church is now in charge. So yes, I know it's the same portrait, but you get Ludwig Ebenwing as your fascist head of state. I'll let you read these on your own time. I'll just click them and you can pause them. But basically, you just start improving your society in a variety of ways, getting research slots, getting industry, things like that. You, of course, are going to get your option to attack Adelbart, as you always do in every branch. So declare the war. Annex them. Okay. Now, you have 2 options available to you. There is the answering of the Fatherland's call, in which you would be absorbed into the Griffonian Empire, and then that's game over. Of course, you don't want to do that. So don't just ignore this. You then have whispers in the dark. The hallways twist into shapes too natural to be made by griffins. The walls bleed purple blood. Time seems to flow backwards into nonsense speak. The one called Mar reveals himself, and only Prelate Ebenwing can hear this. Is this madness or the sign of something otherworldly? Functionally, does it make a difference? Lose 40% base stability, and the Prelate begins to hear whispers. Okay, so let's disable the focus autocomplete and start moving forward. So you just took a 40% loss in stability for apparently no gain. Well, Just gotta give it a minute, that's all. Actually, we'll just, I actually made a save file for this, my bad. Alright, whoops. Now, after a little bit of time passes, and you're hearing the whispers, when you go to your focus tree, you will see it has now been expanded. And, essentially, Prelate Ludwig here has given himself over to Mar, who is basically the Griffonian Satan. So you start to get some really, really weird focuses. So for example, letting the blood flow. Mar demands sacrifices, or so the prelate says. 999 children from every province must be gathered and sacrificed on altars of fire. So this costs you political power, and you sacrifice 999 from every province, as it says. So really interesting stuff. Dang it, I keep forgetting to hit the focus autocomplete. I'm just so professional. It's such a professional production. Come on, come on, come on. Alright, so you're getting really weird things like that, but it really reminds me of like Crusader Kings 2, honestly. You'll get rid of your Arcturian Knights, which is going to hurt you some more, except you get more stability. Then this is kind of interesting. You may remember from my Griffonian Empire campaign where I talked about the Idol of Boras. Well, here the Prelate will come back with the Idol of Mar, which is going to give you these huge bonuses, more stability, more war support, more recovery rate, and of course another 15% boost in popularity to the fascists. So you're getting pretty close there to running the country. Now you get the same annex war goals that the Communist Party did over here against the rest of Central Griffonia. And again, you cannot actually advance until you are done doing this. So we'll just annex them. Okay. Coring them. Alright, then here it is. The return of the old one. Maim, kill, burn, blood for the blood god, suffering for the torture, mega mix. We shall wipe this world clean of all who oppose Mar. And you create the Imperium of Mar. So this changes your country name, as you can see. And, whoops. Of course, you get even more bonuses, more planning speed, more political power, more decryption, things like that. And then these last three just give you even more bonuses, enslaving heretics and things like that. And finally, letting loose the Warriors of Mar. It's going to give you 50,000 pony power. You'll get the Warriors of Mar, 2% recruitable population, plus 10% attack, plus 0.01 fascism support, more training time, and 2 more generals. Right here, Azil and Aoikoid Hellbrass. And now it is time to spread the good word of Mar across the continent via your religious dictatorship that worships Satan. So pretty fun stuff. Wow, that was a really long one. We're approaching 40 minutes here. Thank you again to Flying Pad for suggesting this as a country for me to do a guide on here in Equestria at War. I'm sorry that there were a couple of parts where I was dragging there in the middle, but please let me know in the comments what other countries in Equestria at War you'd like to see me do a guide on. I hope you guys found this interesting. I think it's a super interesting country and just such a interesting variety of different event tree paths that it could go down. Anyway, I'm Conquering History Games. Thanks for joining me. Subscribe if you haven't already, and click the notification bell so you always know whenever a new video of mine has gone up, and I'll see you in the next one.